Testing.
Testing.
All right, we're good. Oh, we're not.
Oh, we're
I think we do.
I think we do because
Yes. You are somebody.
you are somebody.
I'm looking at.
I'm looking at.
Testing.
Testing.
Sorry, guys. Jonathan's on his way.
Sorry, guys. Jonathan's on his way.
Good morning, Liram.
Morning, Liram.
Morning.
Test, test. I did nothing. I did nothing.
Do it again.
Didn't do anything.
did nothing, Jeremy.
Okay, by his own admission, he didn't do anything.
Just showing. I guess. All right, go ahead and try it.
Yeah, don't leave me. Do not leave me.
Do not leave me.
Testing. We're good to go. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for your
All right.
patience.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, for
Racing over.
racing over and apparently doing nothing but fixing the problem. So Becky, would you go ahead with the roll?
Sure. Jim Sheeline.
Here.
Mike Book. Tom Kitson.
Present.
Larry Mimini.
Here.
Tim Bivens.
Here.
Nancy Naylor.
Present.
Thank you.
All righty, I'm going to go, let's see. Make sure, because I always tend to do this out of order. I'm going to go off the screen first. So Greg Gates is with us. Greg, do you have anything for us?
I do not, Jim. Thank you.
All right, good morning. Glad you're with us. All right, Wendy, do you have anything this morning? Until we get down on the agenda?
Besides the microphone thing?
Yeah, which you
Actually,
handled beautifully, by the way.
not. Actually, I have a couple of things further on the agenda, employee handbook that I'll give you a highlight on, and the financial policies I'll give you a highlight on. Other than that, I don't.
Super. Jeremy, do you have anything for us?
Nothing except for what we're going to go over later. And then, Liam, since you were not in the room, I just reminded everybody that we will have a test vote using the onboard system coming up later and on the agenda under unfinished business. So be prepared to have a notification pop up for a test vote later.
Okay, Paul,
Nothing other than what's on the agenda.
Reed.
Nothing other than the agenda.
Okay, and by the way, Reed, did we get a response back from Whipley for, as far as tomorrow morning goes?
We have not yet.
Not yet, okay, all right, very good.
I'll call Matt today.
All right, thanks. Dean's good. Clay, anything? Michael?
No, sir.
Patty and Sarah? All right, and Nancy? All right, good morning, everybody. No, I voted on Laren Purse. Yeah, so, oh, all right, you're keeping track of me. No, that's fine. All right, everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve last month's minute, moved by Bivens, seconded by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. And we'll move on to Treasurer's Monthly Financial Report. Paul.
All right, thank you. So this will actually be a quarter end, a year end, and a month end type of review, seeing as we're looking at November year end numbers. I guess I guess I'm going to start it out with a question first for the committee. I usually go over just a few items on either like a P&L view or a cash view. Is there anything in the reports that you guys had a question on that I didn't go over that you'd like me to expand on or give you some answers to? Okay. So
Hold
Just-
on. There
Oh.
was something that I saw that, now where was it?
well, I wasn't asking you.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, heck. Let's see, there
I
was,
had one, but I figured it out.
okay. Well, I'm not
So-
seeing what tripped my trigger when I was.
All right, well, I can go over
But go
some-
ahead, Paul.
I can go over some things. If it comes up, let me know.
Yep. Will do.
I guess we'll start out with the cash report. If you look as we end the year, capital year over year changed about $2 million. And what that really consists of is we had 600,000 of public safety tax in excess of the bond payments. So we moved that 600,000 from public safety to pay down the interfund loan. So that interfund loan went from like 1.987 down to 1.315. So that continues to drop. Hopefully, you know, if we continue, we can have that interfund loan paid off within the next 3 to 4 years. So that's a good thing. And the rest of the capital was either we had some monies left over in solid waste that we moved to capital, and we had some excess just in our county general that we moved to the capital. So there's that increase is there, but again, if you look at capital requests over the next year to 3 years, we have about $13 million worth of capital requests. So there's still a need, if you will, for funds in that area. The county general is at 3.695. We typically go through about 1.2 million a month in just operational costs. So that's about a little over 3 months worth of value there, which is in line with our resolution to have a fund balance of at least 90 days. So that's the cash. As we go to the revenues and expenses, you'll see we're basically right at where we needed to. It was, you know, mainly in the sense of we had revenues in excess of our budget. Our expenses did come in just slightly under what we had budgeted as well.
And there's the question that I had. Okay, actual budget, because and the sheriff is going to say, gosh, you're picking on me again. Sorry, Clay, but just want to know where, so we know we covered the sheriff in his overtime budget, and that shouldn't that have shown in his actual versus budget?
No, well, so we did, if you remember, we did a budget adjustment in November.
Right.
For the excess revenues that we were using excess revenues basically to cover that. So when you do that budget adjustment, so his original budget was about 5.7 million. And as you see now, it's 6.1 because we added $575,000 to the budget to cover the overages, but only because we had excess revenue to do that. And in order to do that budget adjustment, you cannot increase your total overall budget. So it was a 1-for-1, right? We added revenues, but we also added expenses to the budget. So that net is a zero effect.
Okay. Is there a way that because, you know, when I glanced through that, I was thinking in my mind that when we did the budget adjustment, that would show on the actual, not on the original.
Oh yeah, no,
budget.
You're not.
So
gonna,
you could see, that happen.
Well, so when we do that budget adjustment, it's done outside of original budget.
Mm-hmm.
So you could pull details of original budget versus actual, and that would give you your delta. But again, making that adjustment to show to auditors, this is what you're going to show to an auditor.
Yeah, this is what you're going to,
Yeah,
I mean, just for the purposes of the committee to see,
yeah. I mean,
shows that.
Yeah, we could.
That'd be kind
Yeah,
of-
we could do that,
Yeah.
and I could get you some of those reports.
Okay.
Because it's just pulling from a different column within the system.
Sure.
There's original budget, there's adjustments, and then there's a total budget. I pull from total budget.
Sure.
Normally, you pull original budget because once you lay it in, you don't touch it.
Right.
I mean, it's different in the real world, but in government world, you do one budget and that's it. So,
Right.
yeah. So that's where you see that.
Okay. All right. That was the question that I had. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep, no problem. So that goes along with that. If you look into transfers there on that sheet, you'll see it under actuals, it looks like, whoa, you really missed that because you have a negative 600,000 versus a budget of basically 500,000. And what that is all the transfers of the excess to capital makes the difference there. So, then under capital expenditures, we actually ended the year, we really only spent $368,000 in capital. But there was a lot of projects on there that are now deferred, right? So deferred from 23 to future.
Right.
And those are the larger ones. The rest of these, are the revenue expenses of other board funds and elected official funds. Really the biggest one that we probably want to, or two that we'll touch on here is solid waste and public safety. Solid waste, there is an ordinance, we have to keep $2 million of reserve for that, so you can see that in there. And public safety, as you see, it shows the interfund balance of $1.3 million that is still owed, and that's owed to capital. So, go ahead.
So I guess going back up on the revenue side and looking at where we ended the year up, as far as the trends that you're seeing, and I think I'm seeing the same thing, Paul. But last year we ended up with surplus of $2.1 million, looking like we're continuing to see that federal dollars washing out.
Correct. Well, and also we were conservative in our budgeting process a year ago, meaning for the 23 budget, we were conservative on our revenue estimates because we weren't sure, right? We're coming out of the pandemic. We had a bunch of federal money coming, weren't sure if that was going to continue. So we were conservative. So that gave us a little extra boost there above and beyond our budget, which also helped because we had extra expenses as well to cover that. Forward looking, and we've talked about this before, but we were, I would say, passive aggressive now on our revenues estimates. We also got better information from the state regarding PPRT, which is a personal property replacement tax that during the pandemic had shot through the roof, but now they're actually telling us exactly what you're going to get the next year, which is we got 1.5 million last year and they're telling us we'll get 1 million this year. So that's, basically a third of it has dropped off. And that's going to be a significant to the county impact if that continues. As far as we did increase our revenue projections for sales tax and income tax versus last year. So we're hoping at minimum that increases year over year. Again, we'll see how that plays out. So,
Committee have any other questions?
all right, that's really what I was going to go over for you guys. If you have any questions, you can always call the office. Jim, I do have one more item, and I want to involve Clay in this so that we can get some information out. We did receive $75,000 from the state, and I have it in the capital account. But what I need, Clay, is can you have Kevin send over his grant paperwork for that so that we can set up the right accounting for that? Just have him send that over to us, please. And we'll get that squared away. That's all I had.
Okay. Mike, Dean, do you have any questions? Okay, very good. All right, and because it's a quarterly, we have the sheet that we need the committee to sign, and I think we do take a motion to approve the quarterly report. So I'd entertain that motion, moved by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. You got last time.
Keeping score.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. All those, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right. Insurance Committee, any report, Nancy?
No, the Insurance Committee did not meet this since the last meeting, so I have no report.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Liram, do we have anything from Gredco? Any good news?
No,
No good
not yet,
news from
sir.
Gredco. Well, we're looking forward to good news from Gretco one of these days. Okay, ARPA. Sarah, what do you have for us?
We had a quarterly report in October and we're due for another quarterly report in January. So Patty and I will be back next month with a full update. If anybody has any questions about ARPA, please reach out to Patty or I.
Very good, thank you. All right, and we're now to under unfinished business, point A, financial committee test vote. Jeremy, what do you want us to do?
Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to open the vote. You guys should be prepared to have a notification box that'll pop up on your screen. Please select that. When this opens, you also should hear a little bit of a ding, like a chime that'll pop up. So click on that. You up here on draft, you'll just click open. And then it'll ask for approval. You want to know?
Do we need to be under actions?
Nope, it should pop up for
It
you.
should just pop up.
There's the dings.
Okay, yeah, I've got,
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Finally.
Look
Mine
on
never, yeah.
well, I went to click on mine disappeared.
It's because your finger's too fat.
So if
So
it
what-
disappears, you're going to need to click click out and go back,
Actions.
and it should be under potentially either actions.
Approval, okay, approval.
Wendy will help you.
Do you want us to vote?
Yes. You could vote yes, no, abstain, whatever. Liram, did you catch that on your side?
no, but it came on my phone.
Mine's been different all
It
the
did?
time.
Okay.
Odd
Were you
personnel.
able to vote on your phone, Liram?
Oh, not yet, no.
Okay.
But I had to go back, I had to go to actions, Jeremy. to
So it could,
be able to
if you
vote.
go out, it'll be either under actions or you could go back and,
Mine just popped right up.
Well, mine popped up on top
And then
and then it vanished before I could hit it.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Or vote.
If it disappears, get to actions, is that right?
That, or what we just had to do with Tom is we went back, we got out of the book,
Uh-huh.
the
yeah.
agenda book,
Yeah,
and
I
just
did
went
that.
back to his agenda and clicked on it and.
Oh,
and
just
it-
re-
and it
So,
popped
hey,
up.
Liram,
was like a
in your, on
refresh.
your, if you're on your tablet, you could just click your action button on onboard and it should be right there.
Mine just stayed after I voted. It's just hanging there. Until he closes it. Yeah. Okay.
Let's monitor that.
Oh, see, there they are on the screen.
So if you hit refresh, Becky, it won't, you have to hit refresh on the top of your screen. Then you could see it pop up. Liram, I think, is the only one that we haven't gotten in yet.
Hey, Jeremy, which one is the action button here? I have,
Well, is that all he's?
So
got?
on the side,
Is
on
mine-
your, on the left side of your onboard screen, you'll see search, dashboard, meetings, and then action. So it'll be the fourth button down. Don't say those things, Mike.
Okay. So
I got it. It worked.
okay.
It did work.
Great. Okay, we got you in.
I
So at
voted,
this,
yeah.
Yeah, mine is.
thank you.
Yeah,
So at this
mine
point, I'm
is.
gonna, after everybody's in, we would close the vote. Should get some
I got a
notifications that the
pop-up
vote's
said it closed the
closed.
vote. No, I got a pop-up that said the vote was closed.
So now go back up under your meetings on the tab on the left, your meetings, and does that take you, and now you're back into
Yeah.
where you were?
Yep.
Meetings, if you hit
Mhm.
meetings.
Mm.
it'll take you
And,
back.
yeah, and then come back, it says voting is now closed.
Yeah, but mine popped up that way right away.
Oh,
And when he
mine,
closed it.
mine was like hanging there.
This is the nuances, and it's the different tablets that do different things.
Mhm.
These guys, that vote popped up right away, didn't have to do what you had to do, Tom. So that's the thing we've never
like
been able to
settings,
resolve is
yeah.
why, yes, it's like a settings thing. But the settings should have been set up all the same.
Sure. Okay.
No, thank you all for participating in our fantastic voting test.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we thought we might try this at the full board meeting, but we're not going to yet. So what we're going to do is keep running this through committees a couple times until it becomes a little bit easier for us to figure, to work through this process.
Sure.
And then the unfortunate thing is not every board member gets to a committee sometimes, so we might miss one or not. So I wanted to make sure we have ample time to kind of work through these things over the next couple months before we try it. And of course, Nancy will have to be the one executing the vote at the board meeting. So
Right.
we're going to be working with Nancy on that as well.
And I think that, having done this multiple times in the past, as you all know, that we are going to have to come to terms with the fact that the different tablets potentially have different settings in them, which is causing each of you to have a little bit something different. But if we can get you to understanding your own tablet and what to do if it doesn't automatically pop up, that's when we'll get past that learning curve and you'll be able to execute it efficiently without having to worry that, wait a minute, I didn't get the pop-up. So that's the hurdle I think we've got to get past. So as Jeremy said, Bob has said, I want to get a voting system. So the downside of purchasing a standalone voting system is it won't necessarily integrate seamlessly with Onboard. And so even that process will have its challenges. So the question becomes, do we want to take advantage of the system we already have and overcome the learning curve, or do we want to get a whole different system and start over, which means a whole another learning curve? My vote is to use this. We've just got to get past that hurdle of how each tablet handles those steps a little differently. But anyway, thanks for your patience.
Well, I can tell you, I like Onboard overall. Now, it bugs me that it doesn't like Excel, and we have to, especially for our committee, when we want to work with have the same access, working with the same thing that you guys are working with. That's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But.
So I've discovered that in my conversations, and I have tickets into Onboard about some of the issues, this voting module being one of them. But in my process, I learned that this was originally developed for the corporate environment. And so this transparency and open meetings that were required as a government, it doesn't work as seamlessly as I believe it should. There are tickets in there. They are very aware. And they are selling this now to governments so that we're not the only ones saying this needs to be changed or that needs to be changed. So I'm hoping that it'll continue to improve. But again, I think we have to acknowledge if we go backwards, it's not going to be without learning curve too. And there will be challenges, having a standalone voting system compared to this. So I think I would still be in favor of continuing to use the system and just overcoming those hurdles.
Well, it's
Yep.
expensive.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. I passed over it because there wasn't anything on the agenda, but Nancy, just want to make sure we do not have any Joseph E. Meyer resolutions this month. Thank you. That's right. Okay, we're on to new business, and we've got the fiscal year 2025 meeting schedule approval. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at that
Yes.
schedule?
Mhm.
I always think it's funny. We know more, we just
finish and we
we
start
finish one
over.
cycle and we're right into the next.
Keep in mind, of course, the reason we do this is because Becky does publish these in the newspaper, just as well as your full county board meetings. And that way, we don't have to individually publish throughout the year. We just do it in one publication up front. So that's why we do this so early in the year. The schedule was laid out in collaboration with Paul and Reed and Jeremy, and it replicates essentially what we've done the last couple of years because that seems to have worked fairly well.
Okay.
Anybody have any corrections, anything they want to change in how we've been doing, or? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve, moved by Kitson, seconded by Naylor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
We need to get him flashcards.
Yeah, I know. It's, you know, I sympathize when Bob's up
I
there,
know,
you know, and you got
blank
15
out.
people, and, you know, waving their hands. That's
They do
right.
it in auction.
So
Put your
next
number
we
up.
have is financial policies and procedures. Wendy has been working diligently to update our financial policies. I hope everybody's had a chance to take a look at those. And Wendy, I'll hand this over to you.
I wanted to go out with a bang, you know, so I've got to
There you
change
go.
every policy that ever existed. No, but seriously, this came up, financial policies came up because as Paul and I were discussing some of the prior policy and the way that we dealt with budget amendments, it seemed as though our policy wasn't quite as clear as it could have been. Some other changes in here are a result of a fresh set of eyes looking at it because Reed took the time to read through it and offered some ideas on ways we can add clarity, being that, person coming from outside, when you read a document, that fresh set of eyes really helps. So shout out to Reed for helping me with that. A couple sections that I'll just highlight are specifically the budget amendments. We wanted to make it clear when a budget amendment is needed and what level of authority is needed to make that budget adjustment. Sometimes it's just finance. Sometimes it is the full board that needs to make that. And then sometimes, if it's within a particular budget, it's just a line item that gets out of line, but the overall budget is not out of line, then no budget adjustment is necessary. And with Paul and Reed's help, we talked through, even from an auditor's perspective, what would they want from us? So hopefully we've cleaned that up, added clarity to it, and met the expectation of our auditors when it comes to budget adjustments. The other category that I would speak about is we had in the prior policy a grant section policy, and that grant section required that if someone was looking for county general money to provide a grant match, that authority would come through this finance committee. Unfortunately, as we've learned once we put that into practical application, that there isn't often enough time because finance committee only meets once a month. And so that language has now been revised to say that if you need match from county general money, that it will be the board chairman, the finance chairman, and the county administrator that will essentially give the head nod and allow the application for the grant to move forward so that we can get those grants applied for in a timely manner. The finance chair, shout out to Jim, has an expectation and a responsibility to then bring that information back to the finance committee at the next meeting so that you can give the finance committee the information that's necessary to know that hey, this grant's been applied for and there is a grant match for it. So I wanted to bring your attention to that. Other than that,
Wendy?
I'm sorry.
One more thing with the grant side before we move on, my apologies, is that
No worries.
there was a little bit of a change with some clarification because Jim and I were talking earlier. When a new grant award is received or renewed, the department head is responsible for maintaining a copy of the grant award and providing a copy to the county administrator and to the finance director, which will be Reed, which is Reed. And with that, Reed is going to be responsible for ensuring compliance with the financial policies of the grant and review the program spending, and make sure that is in alignment with the grant program. So there's going to be some more controls on that moving forward.
And that was one of the things we laid out. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jeremy, that we laid out in the job description for the finance director position. So yeah, now we're implementing that because we have the finance director here.
Yeah, that's another one of those pieces that we have these grants that are applied for. It may be a period of time before the money shows up, just like the $75,000 that just mentioned today. And then where's the paperwork? Where's the, who's tracking what and how, all the pieces to the puzzle.
absolutely.
So this is good. When did you go through this with department heads? Did you?
Not at this point. We did have a department head meeting and I did address the grants specifically, that topic. And did tell them there would be changes too, because at that point I hadn't had everybody's kind of review of it and input on it. But I did warn them that there were going to be some changes. Please stay tuned, so to speak.
So we, unless the committee objects, my intent is to go ahead and approve this. But if there's suggestions from department heads that they would like to, have some things added to it or whatnot, I guess we'd tell the board that may be coming.
Absolutely. And we did address it at the department head meeting that we recently held, but it was more in general terms, the grant topic, for example, in general terms with the idea that there would be language forthcoming that hadn't been quite worked out yet.
Sure. Okay. Any questions from the committee? All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this and pass it along to executive. Moved by Bivens, seconded by Naylor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Down to C, and I'll hand this discussion of the FOP contract to Mr. Bivens. Yeah, we'll just, you can go ahead and the preliminary.
Okay. After many meetings, some all day long meetings, we got to a point where we had a mediator come in. And fortunately, it was just one meeting with a mediator. And after a session that I think began at, 8:30 and closed at 5:30, we did come to an agreement with the FOP. It's a 3-year contract. There was a lot of challenges along the way. Some of those were out of our control as other counties and other sheriff's departments settled their contracts through the course of our negotiation. And that put, I guess, added pressure on because they were all significant increases. And the challenge is with hiring and retention. Number one, not a lot of people are coming into law enforcement, so other departments are pillaging other departments, and that's happened to the sheriff several times. And so we went into this with recognition that retention is a big item, along with overtime, because with the lack of personnel, it's really impacted the overtime a lot. So I don't know how, Mr. Chairman, how far you want me to go with all the details, or?
We can go, I think there are some details that we'll need to go into executive session for. I guess I want to do as much as possible in open session. I think it's, Clay, do you want to give a report as far as the FOP has approved? They have ratified it from their side?
Correct. The FOP, excuse me, my voice, but the FOP had a meeting, I believe, Monday night, and they overwhelmingly ratified the contract on their end.
Good. Good. And the piece that goes along with this, that's really good news, we're fully staffed? Almost?
Almost. We're just one short in the corrections division at this time.
And that person may be coming back?
We may have a viable option, yes.
Good. And that's really good news. So, as far as, if we can hold on to fully staffed, that should alleviate that concern in overtime in the budget.
Correct.
Greatly. So, all right. I guess, yeah. Nancy?
Before you move on, Jim, I'd just like to recognize and say thank you to the committee, because I know you guys spend an enormous amount of time and effort and probably anguished over all of this. I know I would have. And I think it was Dean, Tim, and you that kind of gave your follow-up to all this. So it didn't go unnoticed. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Dean, is there anything that you'd like to comment in regards to the contract? So, I guess, from Finance Committee Chair, I guess there's no other simple way to put it. This is probably, and it was even commented during discussion with the union representative, or what is his name? What's Mike's official title?
Matt McGrill.
Yeah.
Or Mike Powell.
Mike Powell.
Yeah.
That this was the best offer that Lee County has ever made to the union and contract over contract. Now, part of that is, as Tim alluded to, was the we recognize that retention had been an issue, and we tried to address that as best we could. The overriding as we went through the process, and other jurisdictions were settling or coming close to settling their contract with their respective unions. It was recognized by our side that we're not the only ones faced with challenges in retention and trying to figure out what a fair salary schedule is for our people. But I think as we worked through it, and it wasn't easy, but I think we came up with a fair solution.
Yeah, and the budget is, or the contract is front-loaded in year one. The other challenge that's been going on for a long time, and we can go back 20, 30 years, the sheriff's department was per employee at least $3,000 behind. And today it was as much as 8,000 entry level. So you can see why it's hard to keep people. And that's the market we're in right now, is, that was talked about a lot. The other thing I would add is the negotiations themselves were very cordial, very civil, very respectful, and that was also noted by both sides. So that was a priority with the committee, that we not get into personalities or get down in the weeds about various things, and just keep our focus on what we were doing and what our goal was. And I think we reached that.
So any questions or comments from the committee?
Do we, at this point or after executive session, at some point, we need a motion to move this to executive?
Correct.
Full board. When do you want
So let's do that. Let's go ahead and go into executive, and then we'll do that after we come out of executive.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Okay.
Yeah, Wendy, as far as the handbook, the employee handbook revisions, is there much there that you need to go over?
I talk fast. I could cover it in, 5 minutes.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and, good point, Tom, thank you. Why don't we go ahead and do employee handbook revisions, and then we'll go into executive session. Go ahead, Wendy.
All right. So the employee handbook revisions are going to be presented. The County Services Committee reviewed and moved those on to executive early. So this is just an FYI for you. I wanted to explain to all of the committees that the biggest reason that we are making modifications to the employee handbook, when we just did it about 9 months ago, was that the state of Illinois passed the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, which required some changes to our handbook. So kind of an overview of that. Illinois adopted the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, which requires that all workers receive some sort of minimum paid leave benefit. And by all workers, that flowed into seasonal, temporary, part-time, and of course, full-time. In the past, our full-time staff, the paid leave benefit exceeded what is the minimum requirement at the state of Illinois, but we had not been offering any sort of paid leave to temporary, seasonal, and some part-time staff. So that's the largest revision. So I'll just hit on those real quick. The minimum standard now is that all employees will receive 1 hour of paid leave for every 40 hours worked. If they're a full-time employee, that results in 40 hours for the entire year. So, and again, as I said, that includes everyone. We are, as a local government, required to comply with that. It's not based on our size, but rather the fact that we're a local government. The statute specifically cited all local governments will comply with this. So essentially the changes in the handbook, to be consistent with the act, I have replaced the term vacation time throughout the document with paid time off, PTO time. That's how it's referenced in the statute, and I did not want any confusion between the fact that we get vacation time and now we also get paid time off. It's essentially one and the same. The sick leave policy that we currently have that employees and some part-time employees receive does not qualify for this paid time off because our policy required, if you're going to take sick time, that it is because you or a family member is sick. And the law, the act required that employees could take this paid time off without any explanation to their supervisor or for their department. So we had to segregate between sick time and paid time off / vacation time, and hopefully we've succeeded in that. We did place a cap on the amount of time that individuals can carry over from one year to the next if they don't use their time. That is consistent with what we've always done with the full-time staff, or not always, but in recent years, we have done it with the full-time staff. So the cap for the part-time, seasonal, and temporary will be they can carry over from one anniversary year to the next, a maximum of 40 hours. But if they earn additional time, they will not keep in their bank anything more than 40 hours. Our policy starts out by saying we encourage our employees to take time off. And if we're going to encourage employees to take time off, we need to say take the time off, find the time to take off. So that cap is in place, again, consistent with full-time staff. I had to remove language which prohibited the earned time to be paid out if employment was terminated. So in the introductory period, formerly known as the probationary period, our handbook said if you are terminated in that period, you don't get paid out for this paid time off. Well, the law was very clear. The new law, the act is clear that we have to pay out once it's earned. So I had to remove language that referenced that. And then the other primary, you're going to see several things, tweaks in there, clarifications, typographical things that we were cleaning up while we were doing this. This also had a fresh set of eyes because I worked with Jeremy through the changes here. And so he had an opportunity to kind of weigh in on some things. And one of those things is our social media policy. So the handbook has always had a social media policy, but in conversations with Jeremy, it would be his goal to create a social media, whether it be Facebook or some other account for the county as a whole. And prior to doing that, he did want to put in place a policy on and guidelines on how we do go forward with a social media account. So that will go forward as a standalone policy. Therefore, we're just removing language out of the handbook that will now be forwarded and put into the social media policy. The downside of having language in two places is you remember to update it in one place, but you don't remember to update it in the other. So it was cleaner to just get rid of it out of the handbook and address it in the policy that Jeremy's got right now in draft form. I would anticipate that coming before you probably next month, and if not next month, the following month. So you can look for that standalone policy. Other than that, I will entertain any questions. Actually, I'll throw it out to Jeremy if he has anything. Otherwise, I'll entertain any questions you might have on those changes.
So is your expectation that we pass this as presented and then
when Jeremy comes with the social media policy, then we'll pass that as an addendum.
Well, actually, I'm thinking a standalone policy because it's not, a lot of the policy that Jeremy is crafting isn't necessarily employee related. Some of it is, of course, but some of it is just, what is your goal as a board in your social media policy? What do you want to see? What types of things do you want to promote or push out there from social media? So I'm not sure it's exactly appropriate for the handbook, but what I suggested to Jeremy is do a standalone, and at some point, if you want to make it part of the handbook, do it at the next revision of the handbook. Make sense?
Yep,
Okay.
that sounds good. Okay. I guess I'll entertain a motion to pass this on to executive for consideration of full board, moved by Naylor, seconded by Bivens.
Hey, Jim, I appreciate your support, but technically this came out of county services to executive and full board. This was informational to you.
Oh, this is information.
This is informational. Appreciate
Okay.
your support, though.
I'm good with that. First and seconders, okay with that?
Perfect.
Okay, very good.
But it will be on your board agenda, so I'll take your support then.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. All right, any other items before we go into executive session? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was reminded that we're moving into executive session for collective bargaining contract, which is 5 ILCS 120/2, Section C2.
Thank you for that. Very good. All right,
Roll call.
roll call, please.
Jim Sheeline.
Yes.
Mike Book.
Yes.
Tom Kitson.
Yes.
Lara Mimini.
Yes.
Paul and Reed, you guys can
Tim
stay.
Bivens.
If you guys got time, unless you got something.
Tim Bivens.
Yes.
Nancy Naylor.
Yes.
Thank you.